Hello guys, today we're going to do a fun review Friday because there are a couple of topics I just want to make sure that you're really solid in, and I thought this would just kind of be a fun way to do it on a Friday since we're just now wrapping up our other unit. So I'm going to do a couple of the first two with you so that you know what I'm asking you to do on this video, and then you will work the rest. So there are a total of 12 problems, and we're going to do 1 and 2 together, so you'll have 10 problems to work on, and these will be due on Monday for your work time for today. So we start with a chart. There are a bunch of ways I can give you information where you can find the slope and y-intercept of each problem. And it says show work on a separate piece of paper. I don't care whether you do that or not. I also don't care if you print this or just copy it onto your notebook paper, as always. So mainly for each one, I just want number 1, I want the slope and the y-intercept, and so on. Obviously, if you show your work, it makes it easier for me to see if you're making an error continuously. So for the first one in the chart, what I decided to do was just to rewrite them as points, right? So this is one xy point, -4, 0, so I wrote that one. And this is an xy point, 0, -2, so I wrote that one. You'll recall from way earlier in the year, and even when you were in Algebra 1, that whenever we want to find slope, we do the formula m equals y minus y over x minus x. Or more specifically, a lot of times you'll see it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so what I did was I plugged it in. It doesn't matter what you choose for 2 and 1. You just have to be consistent. So I chose the second one as my x and y2, and I chose the first one as my x and y1. So I did y2, which was -2, minus y1, which was 0, and that's my numerator, over x2, which was 0, minus x1, which is -4. Now, -2 minus 0 is simply -2. 0 minus a -4 is the same as 0 plus 4, which is 4. This reduces to 1/2, so my slope for the first one is -1/2. Now, there's a second sheet of paper for those of you who looked at the whole document, and all it is you go over here and you make sure that you find a -1/2 so that you can cross it off. Because if your answer is not on this sheet, then there's an error somewhere. So you don't have to use this second sheet, but it's just a matter of showing you, yep, my answer's there. So it's probably okay. Now, what we do to get the y-intercept is I can use the formula y equal mx plus b, remembering that my slope is m and my y-intercept is b. Well, now I have 2 different x and y's I can choose from, and I can pick either xy coordinate point, and I know my m, so I can solve for my y-intercept, which is b. So I used the first point, so y, well, that's 0, equals m, which was -1/2, times x, which is -4, plus b. So that's where I got this equation. And then I'm just going to simplify. -1/2 times -4 is +2. And then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and b is -2. So I'm going to go over to my paper, and sure enough, there is -2. So I'm going to cross that off and move on to the next problem. All right, so my next problem, it's already written as an equation, so I simply have to put it in slope-intercept form, because remember, it's called slope-intercept form because you can just look right at it and pull out the slope and the y-intercept. So we're going to go ahead and solve for y to get it into that form. So I'm going to move my x over. So they're adding it. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides, and I get 3y equal -4x plus 9. I wrote the -4x in the front, remember, because I want it to be in y equal mx plus b form. Now, the next step, of course, is to divide every single term by 3 so that I can get y by itself. So I moved over here and I divided every term by 3. Well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I just have y, equal -4/3 x, that just stays the same. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I can look at this equation and I can tell that my slope is -4/3 and my y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to go back over to my paper. Sure enough, I see a -4/3, so I'm going to cross that out. And then the next one was 3, and here's a 3 right in the center. So I'm going to cross that out. So this is how you do today's assignment. Make sure you do the rest of the 10 problems. This should be super easy for everyone. If not, this video should have reminded you how we did it. Remember, for all of these equations, gosh, number 4 is already done. That is awesome. But in 3, 5, 6, and then some on the next page, you are simply going to solve for y first, just like I did in number 2. And then for the ones like number 7, where it's 2 points, remember that you're going to use the formula we used in number 1, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The only other type of problem, and they're the easiest, so I'm not going to do one. Remember to, when you see it on a graph, literally the slope is counting up and over, or in the case of a negative slope, down and over from 2 points on the line. And that gives you your slope. And remember, your y-intercept is actually where it crosses the y-axis. So those should be pretty simple. Go ahead and graph this one, and you'll find that it is also easy. Remember, your y is always 20. That never changes. So put a dot at y is 20, and then you could sketch from there, if that helps, to figure out the slope. All right, I hope that's helpful. I wanted to make this Friday kind of a low-key day because you've put in a lot of work the last couple of weeks on statistics, and I didn't want to start something new on a Friday. So I wanted to make this kind of a fun review Friday. So you have a great weekend. Make sure you get this turned in by Monday. It is a Habits of Work time grade. So this is your work time for today. You have a great weekend. Bye-bye. See you soon.